back in
Right, but we have a
1990.
very interesting, you say an unholy alliance, and I want to keep you to that right now because I want to just take three major players and have you comment on them, which is one is Israel, the next is the Vatican, and the next is the City of London. So in this story, you're having to deal, these are major, major players. They've been holding the world hostage in a certain sense. And certainly the United States has its role and is, some say is reporting to the Vatican, some say the City of London holds precedence. Other people say that that Israel is in some way in a hidden position of power. What is your position on if you were to give a sort of short synopsis with those three players in mind, what would you say?
I would start out by saying this system only thrives in secret. And the secret, the cat is out of the bag. So the same thing for Israel. Many of the people in Israel itself don't know about this. So when you say it's Israel, no, it's those elites.
Sure.
And they're the ones that built the bunkers, who thought somehow if you had a nuclear war in the Middle East, that they would come out unscathed. Okay, but let's be a little more explicit as well. We say Vatican, but I think we're really talking about Jesuit. They're the ones that own Bank of America.
Fair enough.
Okay, so, and also, if I've been, so I go to the U.S. Congress, and I go to various either Congress people or senators and their aides, and a lot of these people are very much trying to do the right thing. And some of them actually pull it off, and they manage to do the right thing with all of this corruption. So, for example, look at what Senator Lugar did, having 6 hearings. And then when it was time, he wanted to be reelected, and he wasn't even given the nomination of his party for being a lawyer. Some imaginative lawyer, decided to incorporate the United States, and they even incorporated the states. And then they buried certain things in very obscure places. And as a result, the IRS revenue is mostly going to the Vatican, and some of it's going to Bank of England, but it's certainly not paying for the goods and services that we think are part of our government. This is an embarrassment. How could they have done this?
Well, embarrassment is an understatement for what it is. It's a crime.
I find it incredible.
Okay, but this is a crime against humanity, certainly against the American people, is it not?
But this is no longer the case. This is no longer the case. It was very clear that the agreements as to how we're going to go forward were not going to go forward to any country where you still had this incorporation. So that's been erased. That's been undone. That's no longer the case. That's my understanding.
Okay. Well, it'd be good if you could send us some links or some documentation to back that up.
I just read a document that says that, and I believe it to be the case.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, as a follow-up, anything you want to send me along those lines, I know people will want to hear more about it. Are there other whistleblowers talking about that? What you're just talking about, the fact that the incorporation of the United States and the city of the Washington D.C. and all of this nonsense has been turned around. You believe that this is really happening?
Let's put it this way, Carrie. My understanding is that is now currently the case. But here's the point. What absolutely has to happen is that people who understand what the issues are have got to follow them up and stay involved, so that if for some reason, although my understanding is that it's been fixed, that's not good enough. Your audience needs to know the absolute state of affairs, and needs to hold the people whose job it is to tell them that to account. And the very first place that they have got to go is to their mainstream media and fire them. Don't buy, don't turn on the TV, don't buy the newspapers, because anything you're getting there has been printed by the same people that brought you the incorporation of your country. and your IRS revenue going to the Vatican. So just don't patronize them and try to find out what's actually the case anywhere but the mainstream media. Carrie, I haven't had that conversation, but I can tell you this. Before I came to the World Bank, I used to work at the U.S. Export-Import Bank. That was Boeing's bank. All right?
Okay.
So, and I'm an economist in addition to being a lawyer. So I know that you are not going to shut down these defense industries or these aerospace industries overnight, turn off the crane and retool without huge multiplier effects. But what I would say is that anybody who's listening to this who feels like they need to do something, find a way to get the story out, because we have no, I'm very grateful to you, Carrie, for putting me on your show. But if you look at the numbers, just the sheer numbers of people whose only source of information is the mainstream media, we are very vulnerable to this kind of destabilization. Sure. I mean, I can say that this is going to happen, but the cabal is certainly a worthy opponent, and I don't think they're ever going to give up. They just liked the trough too much. Right. Those pigs.
Sure.
I can give you an anecdote about the CIA, and that is, I got a phone call from a guy who, I had dated his father for many, many years before I got married. And his father was divorced. And so his children would come and stay with us on the weekends. And so this guy called me up. It wasn't his father that called me up. It was him that called me up. And, he said, your life sounds a little bit like a Grisham novel. And then he said, you have to do what's right for you and your family. And I didn't like that one bit. So I got off the phone and I Googled him and I saw, sure enough, he had been working for the CIA. And I called him back and I said, Jerry, I don't know that many people that work for the CIA, but I've Googled you and I see that you did. So if you would do me a really big favor, why don't you, if you happen to bump into some, of your former colleagues, why don't you tell them I don't intimidate?
Okay, fair. Very good. Okay. All right. Well, Karen,
I've been bribed, Carrie. I've been bribed a lot.
Okay. Well, what you mean is you've been offered bribes, but you haven't taken them. Is that what you mean?
That is correct.
Yes.
That's not, that it's not because I'm such a great human being. It's because I don't happen to get pleasure by taking money and being a stooge. I get pleasure by doing the right thing. That's my reward. So
okay.
Yeah, no, when these goons call me up, and they call me up and bother me and bother my family. And I said to the last one, I said, okay, if you call me up again, I've called the police and you are a nuisance, get out of my life.